When was you fist freaking kids today moment? When I got rear-ended by a car full of kids because the driver was texting and thought the light turned green. They were more concerned about getting selfies with the accident and updating Facebook than they were about anyone's safety. After jumping around and laughing and goofing off, she became a crying mess when the police showed up. She started holding her neck and telling the cop that I slammed on my brakes and caused the accident. The cop looked at the road by my tires, took my statement, and issued her a ticket. Then she called me an butthole for getting her in trouble. Even if you did slam your brakes, she would be at fault. I was driving to the hospital for work. I was making a right onto a busy street. It was about 11 AM. As I'm making the right, there were a bunch of kids walking through the crosswalk like skipping and twirling and jumping around. I yelled to myself, come on, hurry up WTF, because they were obstructing my path. I thought to myself, these kids, they should be in school. What are they doing? Where are their parents? When I got to work, I told my friend about all these kids walking around in the middle of the afternoon. It was very annoying. He looks at me, dude, it's summer. Car with 4 dudes in it pulls up next to mine in a parking lot. Was about to go grab dinner and see a movie with the girlfriend. One of the back doors opens directly into my car. Very obvious and loud. Left a dent. He proceeds to start walking toward the restaurant, stopping only to drop his empty beer on the ground. I get out of my car and call them back over to take a look at their work. The dude that actually did it is somewhat apologetic, and honestly I'm more pee that he was about to walk away from it than the fact that he actually did it. His friend though, his friend thought this was grounds for a fist fight. How dare my parked car collide with his drunk friend's door? He was really worked up, getting right in my face about it. I just told the calm kid that did it he could either pay for the damage, or we could get a police report and see if they don't notice the driver is drunk. If you're driving around drunk and you freak up somebody's car, just be a man about it. I could have and should have gotten that driver a DUI, so I'm not sure how it's a good idea to try and fight me over the dent. I was a teaching assistant at a university for about 2 years. The end of my first semester as a TA, we had a student bring her mom and dad in to argue with us about her unfair grades. The entire class was designed around projects graded through self-assessment and 4 online open book exams with no time limit. Edit, forgot to add that the students could retake them 5 times each. But your most recent results were the ones you had to keep. It was like that for both my years as a TA, 6 semesters total, and we always had at least one student send their parents after us because they didn't like their grade. I'm in college, non-traditional student, ex-military, want to go to med school, so there's a girl in my group project that is 18 years old and looks like a child to me. Well, we typically meet up as a group on the weekend. I ask her if she wants to meet up this weekend because no one has talked about it yet, and she goes straight into the I have a boyfriend spiel. Like what? Zero flirting. Zero interactions other than group project, and you think I'm asking you out? I'm over here trying to get an A and you think I'm trying to get in your pants? It was like a bad sitcom. This is just my own observation, but it happens way more with younger white women than any other race. I'm a fairly large black dude. She must hold herself in very high esteem. I was recently in a similar situation, where a teenager was thinking I was hitting on her. I'm 40, and once I realized what she was thinking, I told her not interested. Sorry, not sorry. She might have even gotten it. Sigh. I'm actually going to answer this question. The word bi. I can't freaking stand that word. I have a young co-worker that uses it all the time and it's so bad. I feel like kids started using it ironically, but then they got used to saying it. Now they use it as a legitimate word. When I first heard a kid use the word swag without referring to that free pen and t-shirt they got at the seminar they went to recently. I was visiting the Texas Capitol building in Austin and they have a little cutaway model showing the inside of the dome. I overheard a kid nearby describe it to his friend as swag. Not sure what to make of that. I'm an older college student and every single one of these kids in my classes have no patience or respect anymore. They either spend the whole class talking amongst themselves, playing on their phones, taking selfies and Snapchats, or browsing Facebook on their laptops. Why even come to a lecture if you're not paying attention? It's rude and distracting to others and your professor. My education is putting me thousands of dollars in debt. I guess their parents are paying for them. Freaking attendance grades. I wasn't very old, like 18-20. I was driving and there was some freaking kid in front of me. Typical pose kid in a typical pose car that he thinks is God's gift to cars. He takes off from the light. The median on the other side has a ramp style head. He uses this to get his car on the median and rides his car half on the median and half on the road for the entire stretch of that median. That's a VTech bruh. It was a year or two ago, I think. I was out walking my dog and I heard some kids at the playground. No big deal, really. A bunch of them were kind of gathered in a group cheering one of the others on. I got a little closer and I could not believe what I was seeing. This one kid, on one side of a little area with picnic benches, was just holding his fist out, like a jousting knight, and started just running full speed at this other kid who was bent over, spreading his butt. I have never heard a scream like that before. It was freaking terrifying. I just shook my head and thought, fist freaking kids these days. Dude, you don't get a running start. You got a reason to that shitter. Not necessarily kids today, but when I went to the MoMA Art Museum in New York and saw so many people just holding up tablets, taking pictures of the art, and not actually looking at it with their actual eyes. I know this dead horse has been beaten for quite a while on Reddit, but I have to say it's been the whole triggered by microaggression phenomenon on college campuses. It really hit home for me when I saw a YouTube video where they interviewed college students about what could be considered a microaggression and what is not. I think the video was by a channel called Reason TV or something, but I'm on mobile and don't have the link right now. According to these students, things that could be considered a microaggression included asking an Asian student where he or she is from, stating I only hire the most qualified candidates, and one student said she had an issue with the phrase free speech because she felt it was mostly used by a certain demographic to legitimize hate speech. I mean, I'm only 32 but I didn't relate to this at all. Apparently young people feel they have a right to not be offended or something. And in addition to that, college campuses are supposed to be places where people are confronted with difficult ideas. At least they used to be. There's a boy I see in my neighborhood from time to time that single-handedly embodies everything that irks me about today's generation. A morbidly overweight lad of about 10-12 years of age. You will see him many days in his driveway on his hoverboard. Note when I say on the hoverboard I don't mean actually riding the hoverboard. He just stands on it. At least he is outside. Presumably because his parents threw him out there, but instead of enjoying the world around him, or getting some actual exercise, which he clearly needs, or interacting with physical friends, he just sits out there, on his expensive hoverboard, staring down at his cell phone, as if to mock the idea of getting exercise. He will often be seen with a big gulp soda cup in his hands. Kids these days. We spend $400 freaking bucks on that thing, so you're dang well gonna play on it. You know, I would like to say that this moment was the first for me. All I did was read the question and I was thinking that kids today don't even know how to read over their own work and make corrections. A year or two after high school, I was on a city bus and a pregnant lady got on. I noticed she was standing as all the seats were full, so I offered my seat to her. This freaking 14 years old greasy crap heel spies me getting up from most of the way across the bus and makes a beeline for my vacant seat. He's freaking climbing over people and hopping rows of seats trying to get to me. I crap you not. I am pretty sure I saw his shoe on someone's shoulder at one point. So he gets to me and I basically stiff arm him to stop him and physically hold him back as he is still trying to weasel his way in while I gesture for the lady to take the seat. This freaking kid is just beaking at me the whole time, talking crap and trying to fight me even though I had about 35 pounds and a foot of reach on him. I just stared at him with a vaguely arrogant smirk on my face hoping he would put his hands on me. Never did. And before some smartass makes the comment, no, everyone did not cheer. They did their best to ignore that the situation was even happening. A few were straining their necks just to look out the window. The only thing that happened was that the bus driver kicked us both off the bus for causing a commotion. I was only a couple stops away from mine anyway, so got off. ignored the kid and just started walking. He was still yelling crap as I was walking away and all I could think was goddamn youths. Well, you were the only one to offer your seat, and presumably the entire bus wasn't filled with young people, so in this case it's more like, goddamn selfish people. When I almost hit a squad of kids while they were riding those dang hoverboards at night with no lights on them at all in an unlit neighborhood. I'm 19. I'm still a kid, but frick kids today. Not exactly the same thing, but I first considered myself old when I realized pro hockey players were 10-12 years younger than me. Also, fist fricking. I am usually laid back and I accept kids' jacassery as a given. I was probably annoying as frick to a general degree as a teenager, a know-it-all pretentious dong in my early 20s, and a sloppy mess that held it together until I was almost 30. I think we all were to some degree, but in the theater, while watching episode 3, the little kids in front of me were yelling at Anakin for being bad. These fricking kids didn't know he was fulfilling his destiny. Also, hoverboards, frick that. I was in a relatively busy shopping district in the area, and this group of middle schoolers was approaching people and, very awkwardly, saying, "What are those?" while filming the interaction with their iPhones. The folks they accosted all just sort of stood there and stared at them for a little bit and then walked away. I didn't get a phone until I was in high school, and then I had limited texting. I still only have a flip phone with a 123 style keyboard. I have a very clear memory of being in the 7th grade and not knowing what YouTube was. At an internet safety briefing at my high school when I was 14, almost nobody knew what Twitter was. Kids these days have all these different social media outlets and technology, and it facilitates their being narcissistic and cringeworthy and obnoxious. I love how your reminiscence and kids these days still makes you younger than me. Damn it. I graduated high school and there wasn't yet a YouTube. My work hired this girl to be my admin. She shows up super late, blames everyone, and thinks she's too good for the job. This is the second girl around 23 years old this year that I hired that thinks this way. Total generation gap. When I was a DJ at a house party 3-4 years ago, and the kids, early to mid 20s, told me to turn off Wu-Tang and Snoop Dogg, and play Lil Wayne instead. When kids started referring to MDMA as Molly and subsequently any club drug became Molly and methylene became the default. Back in my day ecstasy was always MDMA. Bro, I got some flame quad stacked mollies, they are far so dope. Every time I see annoying kids taking the train while they're here on spring break, it's like they try to get in the way of people going to work. Pains in the butt, I tell ya. When I was standing on the corner waiting for my 5-year-old's bus and a group of teens in a car kept harassing me about being a prostitute. I wasn't dressed trashy, I am a professional and was dressed in my work suit. I, in no way looked like a H, but here these little punks were yelling at me and shaming me for standing on a corner. They drove by several times just yelling all these insults. I was so humiliated I cried. I was driving home from work and some annoying kids were walking in the middle of the road. I had to stop and honk at them to gtfo. My window was open and I made the come on hand motion. One of the kids looked at me and said, "Let's move before the old lady runs us over." I'm only 19. Kid, how is insert place here? I heard it's lit. Me. Well, I hope it's lit. It's 2016, not 1716. Electricity is a fairly common thing nowadays. I don't get current slang. Lit, fleek, fam, all of it I don't get. And I'm only 23. When I read Reddit, the naivete about Muslim countries and how Islam's fine, really the self-righteous idiocy surrounding affirmative action, the faux offense at anything reasonable that could possibly be twisted into any kind of ism. I mean, Jesus, you fricking kids. Such idiots. When I walk by some primary school students and they're all excited of their pregnancies. Note, I'm only 20, so I'm not that old, but that still bothers me. I was just driving home and saw some kids throw a log at a car. I mumbled to myself, "You fricking kids today, man." I'm 17. Today I realized I'm an old frick. Let's just dispel this fiction that OP didn't know what he was doing with that title. OP knew exactly what he was doing with that title. Half the comments are serious replies, a quarter is pointing out his mistake, and the other quarter is talking about fist fricking kids. He lured everyone in. It's almost genius. When a school bus pulled up to the park I was running at and all the kids proceeded to climb and hang on a low tree branch. It was a majestic looking tree that had a low horizontal branch that people would take pictures sitting on with the river and skyline in the background. Anyway, they all started working together, jumping up and down trying to break the branch off while the faculty just stood by. Pee me off so much. I don't think they broke it off, but it couldn't have been good for the tree. And frick those teachers who didn't say anything. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.